was so terrible in the beginning. Could not get my serve over. I just got there and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I can't believe we get to do this. The rest of my 3 years at Texas, it's like, no, this is actually an incredibly grueling process year round. I think that the hardest part was internal. Am I supposed to be here? Like, did I just like barely get here? Those little monsters creep up of like, oh man, they're gonna find out that I'm not good at this. And so at the ripe age of 25, I moved to LA, retired. I had a bunch of odd jobs, but I was like, I really miss it. Whenever Love Austin became a thing, I was like, I need to play on that team. That sounds like a dream come true. And then to sweep in the finals, I never could have thought that would happen. This game hasn't stopped being stressful. It's still high stakes all of the time. At the same time, it brings me so much joy. And so knowing that joy is on the other side of stress, if you can find the gratitude and find the joy and the reason why you're still playing this game, hold on to that.
Welcome to the Winners Club podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Wilson, and today I'm here with professional volleyball player for LOVB Austin, Molly McCage. Molly, thanks for being here.
Yes, of course. Happy to be here.
So we're going to get into your mindset as a professional athlete, but first I want to hear about your story to become a professional athlete. So let's start from the beginning. What are your first memories playing volleyball?
My first memories, so this is going to date me, but my mom actually saw an ad in the newspaper for a local volleyball camp. And I think it was a way for us, I'm the youngest of 5, so I think it was a way for us to just get out of the house and go play some volleyball during the summer. And I went to this camp and there was a club coach there and he was like, oh, I actually think that you'd be decent at this, which was funny because I was so terrible in the beginning. Like I could not get my serve over. I was so weak. I like didn't understand the game.
Weren't you tall, like over 6 foot in middle school or something like that?
Yeah, I grew 8 inches in 1 year. Yeah, rather painful. But I did cheerleading and track, and I played basketball growing up. I was a dancer, a swimmer. I tried a lot of things, and for some reason, being so terrible at volleyball made me want to continue playing because I was like, I need to crack this code. Like, I need to figure this out. And everybody kept saying that giant word potential. Like, you have so much potential. And it honestly, like, didn't feel like it clicked for, like, a whole nother year. Like, I played club volleyball, 14s level, and I felt like I didn't even start the entire year. I started, like, the last tournament of the year. And just the fact that my club coach and my teammates had that much faith in me was really something about volleyball that I loved. I think the community is always what's pulling me back to playing this sport. It's just, I think the community for volleyball is top notch.
Yeah. You did become pretty good pretty quickly because you committed to UT sophomore year.
Yeah.
So what was the recruiting process like and how did you end up settling on UT?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Indiana. I moved to Texas whenever I was 10, and my sister went to IU, and I was super interested in following in her footsteps because she's a really amazing role model for me. So I wanted to go to IU so badly. I went to IU, I went to Purdue, and I was entertaining that, but my parents had moved to Houston, and it was really awesome to be close to home. But then, like, once UT offered, I was like, I can't say no to UT. Like, that's like the dream school, you know? And I was, trying to fight it, looking at other schools. I looked at Florida. I knew I wanted to go to a big school with like a football team and just like a really cool city to be in. And Austin just checks all of those boxes. I still very much believe that this is like the best city ever. And like the Texas in me and the network that I have now, like will stay with me forever. And I knew that coming in, that it was a special place.
Once you got there, you're not at a new high level with a lot of pressure and expectation. I imagine that was difficult to deal with. So what was the most difficult moment during your time in your career? Maybe when you first got there or whenever, what was your most difficult moment during your time at UT?
I'd say it's a really big adjustment going from high school to college. The speed of the game, obviously, everybody is as good, if not better, than you are. Okay, and there's a giant learning curve, and so all of these accolades that you receive in high school, like it's awesome, but they don't mean anything. You get to college and it's like fresh start. Who are you, and what can you prove to us that you can start and be on this team? And how do you fit in this program? And so it honestly took me a long time to figure that out. The amazing thing is that's the support system throughout Texas, like the entire staff, like our strength coach, our athletic trainer, our coaches, our Dovo, like they're all wanting like for you to succeed. But it's hard. The high expectations I think got me, and it was like nobody's gonna hold your hand through all of this. I think one of the hardest things is really like choosing between a social life and going to school and excelling at your sport and taking care of your body. Yeah. Like all of those things, we won our freshman year and I just got there and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I can't believe we get to do this, and it felt like easy at the time. And then the rest of my 3 years at Texas, it's like, no, this is actually an incredibly grueling process year round. You get like 1 or 2 weeks off a year, and that's just what it takes. And it taught me a lot going into my professional career. And I wouldn't take it back, but it's a place that you like have to grind every single day, and that can either wear you down or it can build you up.
Like, how did you get through those years where just grinding over and over and over?
There was a time I was pretty mental, and like completely doubting myself of like, am I supposed to be here? Like, did I just like barely get here? Am I deserving of this starting spot? Like, I see these freshmen coming in and they might be better than me. And there's this like evil monster comparison every single day in practice. And I think the thing that helped me the most was my teammates. Just being like, every single one of us has felt like that at some point during practice, during training, during games, but like lean on us as a community. And that like still happens to this day. I didn't just like get over that in college, but like there's always that part of this game where it's like, do I actually deserve all of this? Am I just risking so much of my life to just think that I didn't deserve to be here? Like, no, absolutely not. There's always like a reason why I'm here. I think that the hardest part was internal. I don't think it was something that like the coaches put on us, because you go to any other program and it's going to be some difficult part of the process. But I think my worst enemy was my mind.
I think every athlete goes through that imposter syndrome, especially being a high level like UT. Do you have a thing that you do now where you can kind of handle that better, or how would you tell someone that is going through that now?
Therapy.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Therapy has been absolutely wonderful for me. Both a therapist and a sports psychologist. I've worked with both throughout my career, and those people just know the science behind it all. And of course, I talk to my teammates about like all the things that are going through my mind. And I had a friend recently ask me like, "How did you get to be so confident?" And it like took me. I was like, "Oh, you think I'm confident?" And there are certain things I'm confident in, but like as a whole, like I'm constantly thinking about like, how can I get better at this? Like I know I'm struggling in this area of my game, and like it's always a question, but at the same time, like it's almost funny that somebody's like, oh, like you carry yourself this way. I'm like, okay, yeah, I do. Yeah. And it's really just like a daily practice. Like, and it's the work that I've put in with my therapist and psychologist throughout the years that like I attribute to.
We'll get more into that, but so teammates got you through UT, then you moved to Germany to play professionally. That's overseas, new language, away from friends and family. How'd you get through that time in Germany?
I look back on it really fondly. I think that it's something that every player should experience. And we have these amazing leagues here in the US that like provide the opportunity to play on US soil. At the same time, like being a foreigner is a huge growth part of your life. Like I think that everybody should experience that like nobody really cares that you're American. Nobody cares what university you went to. Like you have to figure out how to take care of yourself. Like, and maintain your body, and you're no longer in school. There aren't other friends in that country. Your friends are really just on your team that are your coworkers, and so you have to spend almost every single day with them. It was definitely another learning curve, like from high school to college to pro. Gosh, the language barrier was tough. At the same time, I think I had it pretty easy because I had a lot of foreigners on my team that weren't German. And so I took German lessons, but at the same time I had a Greek coach, I had an American coach, I had Hungarian teammate, a Brazilian teammate, American teammates. So the common language was English, which is not how it is when you like other teams in the world. Like you have to figure out how to communicate. Like in the Asian countries, like you have a translator, and that can be lonely.
Yeah.
Like, and I definitely experienced that part. Seasonal depression is a thing. There's not a lot of sun in Germany. And it's quite lonely, honestly. And you're missing friends' weddings and family birthdays and just holidays. Like you have to say goodbye to that for 9 months out of the year. And there's this like everybody was following you in your career at Texas at university because it's on TV or it's easy to follow. Like you're in the United States, they see you on social media. Like you're just integrated in the community really easily. When you go overseas, it's like people forget because it's on some janky link that like isn't a different language. Nobody's going to go to that. That's like 10 steps too many. And nobody's familiar with like the Bundesliga and like having to explain that, like the glazed looks in people's eyes. Like and so you're kind of almost forgotten when you go overseas, and keeping up with your friends is really hard because of the time difference. Like, as I said, you're not going in like knowing anybody else in that city. Like it's very much like a dive into this, like, I hope that this is all worth it, and I still absolutely love this game, and I love the game at the time, but it was a lonely part of my life and led to like my retirement where I stopped and then moved to LA and had a life crisis and then came back.
Well, before that, you did figure it out because you won the German League Championship and won Best Blocker twice. Like, so you did have some high moments and you figured it out. What do you think led to those moments where you were on top?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Because like I said, I look back on it fondly because it really, the foreigners on my team and the Germans on my team, like, still took me in, right? And they understood that, like, it can get lonely sometimes. So, like, let's do things, like, in Germany that are actually really fun. So I got to see a lot of Germany. Germany's actually a gorgeous place. I think it's underrated. People just, like, skip over it. They think of, like, Berlin or, like, Oktoberfest or something, and, like, that's it. But I really enjoyed my time. I lived in Wiesbaden and Stuttgart, and both cities are pretty young and vibrant. And so I felt like, my second and third year, I really just had friends on my teams as well. And like, I found a way to like have a life outside of volleyball. That is so important to me. And I know it's important to me because I started playing better. Like, yes, having a life and like things outside of your sport make me more of a like well-rounded player on the court. Like, I know that about myself, and I have to like find other ways I'm such an extrovert, and I have to go outside and socialize for me to thrive on the court. And so I think that led to a German, Bundesliga championship. And we did pretty well in Champions League that year. That was actually so fun. Yeah, I know that about myself, and I made that a priority those years.
Then the retirement. So you retired for a year, then came back. What made you retire in that moment, and what made you come back eventually?
Yeah, the constant thought in my head was, am I just a cog in the machine? I kind of lost my way in terms of what am I doing? Who is this for? Am I actually making an impact in this sport? Like, I feel like I've lost my connection with the volleyball community. I'm just hitting balls and blocking balls every single day. Like, it just felt mindless. So if I just burnt out, and I got my degree at Texas, and everybody keeps talking about this Texas network that you're going to be a part of, and I just didn't feel like I was part of any network. And so I wanted to see what else I could do. Like, I saw my other friends from Texas like getting jobs and like settling down, and that like looked so attractive to me. I was like, I need to figure out what other parts of me exist besides volleyball. And so I was like, at the ripe age of 25, was like, I'm good. Like, I've hit the pinnacle. And so I moved to LA, retired. I had a bunch of odd jobs. I worked for a couple startups. I worked at a plant, like a house plant shop. I was coaching a little bit, and I almost took a career in wine sales. Like, I was all over the place. And then I got a text from Jordan Larson, and she said, hey, this is random, but would you play volleyball again if it were in the United States? I was like, that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? And I was like, I'm interested. What are you talking about? And so it was Athletes Unlimited. And so I said yes. I was the second person to sign with Athletes Unlimited, and we slowly built the roster. And then I was like, hold up. The best parts of my life have to do with volleyball. And the community is the thing that always brought me back. And I felt like I still had more to give. I, had stayed in shape somewhat, like here and there. I was Pilates and things like that. But I was like, I really miss it. And I still want to play at the highest level. And that's fun for me, competing at the highest level. No matter how grueling it is, still knowing that part of like, I could lose myself in this sport again. I could get burnt out again. At the same time, I could also love it and feel like I belong in a community again. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm kind of floundering anyway, so let's go back to volleyball.
Around that time, Love Austin was formed, and it was a perfect situation where you were able to come back to Austin and reunite with your U2 teammates. But initially, it was a little rocky, and y'all went 5-11 in the regular season and finished in 5th place. So how would you describe that regular season?
Yeah, so playing for Love Austin is a dream come true because, I graduated from UT in 2016, went overseas, traveled a bit in the US, and hadn't been back to Austin. And so whenever Love Austin became a thing, I was like, I need to play on that team. That sounds like a dream come true. And it was this past season. Of course, our record didn't reflect that throughout the season. It was like, dang, we're riding on potential. And we all were like studs at Texas and studs overseas, but like we couldn't figure out the best lineup. We were putting up good fights. We'd go to 5 all of the time and then lose barely. I will say the like way that Love has structured their rosters, it's an even match every single night. And so there were no blowouts. Like we would hardly lose in 3. We only beat somebody else in 3 one time before the playoffs. Like it was a dog eat dog night every single night. We were always just on the losing side of that. Not always, but 11 times. And so going into playoffs, we were like, hey, it doesn't matter. Whatever just happened, like literally doesn't mean a thing, which is hard to do in the moment because it's just like, it's right at the forefront of your mind of like, we just can't figure it out. And we had a coaching change in the middle of the season, and I think he was a little bit of a spark plug, which helped us a lot. There was like a newfound belief that like, no, we actually can do this. We're really, really close every single time. So keep believing, guys. Yeah. And the playoffs were the wildest time of my life. 2 reverse sweeps. Yeah. That has never happened to me in my entire career. And then to sweep in the finals, like I never could have thought that would happen. I felt like it was a heist, but we did it, and I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, against all odds, y'all made history and won the first championship. When did that switch come when you all believed, oh, we can win this? Was it during the championship game, or was it a little bit before? How did y'all believe y'all could win and pull it off?
Yeah, I think there were several moments. Our team was full of fighters, and I think maybe that has to do with the Texas fight. There's 9 of us on our team, 9 Longhorns on the Love Austin team. And of course, the other athletes on our team like have a ton of fight as well. But there is something to be said about like going to the University of Texas, understanding that we've had high expectations put on us, our entire careers at Texas, and then that carries into our professional careers. And so, in the quarterfinals against Salt Lake, Asia was like, guys, we have to go out swinging. Like, no matter what, we can't just like lay down here and die. And so that was a moment that we had in the huddle. Julianne was like, Molly, I can tell that you're struggling right now, but like, we got to pick it up and we have to like figure this out. There were many moments that like we all just leaned on each other and found a way to provide some kind of encouragement and support in that moment, because it's not like, the other opponent's going to lay down and die, or that like, we're amazing for one set, but then it doesn't matter because you have to be amazing for the next one, and the next one, the next one. And like that team is fighting back, and like Salt Lake was a really good team, a really good matchup for us. And then we lived to see another day. We played Atlanta next, and we were like, they're a lot better than us. Mm-hmm. Frankly, they were a lot better than us the entire season. They were in system 60% of the time the first 2 sets, which is like, how do you defend that? I don't know. We had no answer. And then it was like, guys, why not? Why not us?
Right.
And we just had that mentality going into the third, fourth, and fifth set, and we pulled out another win, and we were all just like, shall we win this? And yeah, that kind of belief like just comes from having those high expectations put on you. And I attribute it to every single person involved with Love Austin this past season.
That was a bit about your story. Now we can get into your mindset. First off, do you have any practices that you do to take care of your mental health? Like, how do you deal with the highs and lows of your sport? You mentioned therapy and sports psychologist, but is there any other things as well?
Oh, gosh. I think that there is such power in breath work. I try to implement that like in my daily life. And just knowing that like the stress is your body saying it's worth it. And I feel like I can do anything through my breath. And I carry this like throughout my life as well. But like, yeah, this game hasn't stopped being stressful. Like it's still high stakes all of the time. And I'm addicted to playing my best all of the time. And I suffer from perfectionism too. So there is a double-edged sword. At the same time, it brings me so much joy. And so knowing that joy is on the other side of stress and bringing that and like marrying those two ideas keeps me grounded. And I keep harping on this. I have just amazing friends that I play with and that I get to lean on.
Well, you are a very resilient person. So I know you mentioned your teammates, but how do you bounce back? So you've broken 3 fingers, you've retired, come back. A lot of times in the playoffs, you had to come back from behind. So how do you personally, not your teammates are great, but you personally, how do you bounce back each time?
Yeah, I just find it all to be addicting. And I know that like I've gone through some pretty difficult things in my life, and I think that like that's what makes me a cool teammate and someone to go to battle with. And I respect that about myself, of that like I can recognize a hard situation and not back down ever. And I think that that's conditioned into me now. Like I've just put myself in positions and, you know, injuries aside, like I'm like, I choose the hard path because I know that I'm just going to be better for it.
Regarding pressure, is like, what's your most pressure-filled moment you've experienced in your career? Because you've been in a lot of different pressure moments. So that's an example of where you're choosing a pressure moment and want to be in that championship. So how do you deal with those moments? Like, what's the most pressure you've experienced, and how did you deal with it?
I mean, I think maybe it's the recency bias, but I'm going to say I put myself, after this championship, I, you know, called Eric Sullivan and I said, hey, I think I actually am playing my best volleyball now at 31. I think that I deserve to be in the USA gym again. And he said, okay.
Oh, you called him and told him that?
Yes.
Well, is that possible? Is that allowed?
It's allowed.
I guess so.
Nobody told me it wasn't. So I called him and he was like, you know, of course, like we didn't have you in mind. I didn't know that you wanted to play in the USA gym again. And I said, yeah, no, this is a goal of mine. And I think that I am ready and I am deserving to be here. And so this past summer, like, of course I knew it was going to be a grind. Like that's an environment where you're evaluated every single day and numbers matter, how you treat others matter. Like you're scrutinized, like and judged every single day. Like call it what it is. It's a wonderful environment to be in. Like I'm very grateful that I get to train at that high level, but it's like high stakes every single day. Because we're all shooting to make that Olympic roster, which happens in 4 years. It's not happening now, but what you do now is so important. And there are rosters to be had like every single summer that you have to make. And it's a lot of pressure. And I was feeling that again. And of course, those little monsters creep up of like, oh man, they're going to find out that I'm not good at this. Or like, am I deserving to be here? And I just kept having to be like, no, I am so deserving of this because I've worked hard for it. And like, why not me? And I think maybe that comes with age of just like, I can see the end of my career getting closer and closer. I don't want it to happen. I'm going to play it till the wheels fall off. But there's like this era of like, and I remember playing with, I had like a 36-year-old teammate whenever I played in Germany, and I was 24 at the time. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing that she's still playing, you know? And to me now I'm like, that's not like that old, you know? But she just had this certain resiliency about her and this air of like, I'm just gonna try, because what else is like, how is it gonna hurt me if I don't, like, if I don't try, it's going to hurt me. So like, why not try? And I think that's more of my motto now of just like, shoot your shot. Why not? Even knowing that the pressure is going to be high. So I think, I mean, this past summer, wearing the USA jersey again, representing your country, being part of the best, playing against the best of the best, like playing against Italy this past summer. Wow. Humbling and amazing. Like playing that high level of volleyball on that stage is so fulfilling. It's also terrifying. And the pressure is so high, but I just freaking love it. I'm addicted to it.
Well, this imposter syndrome is news to me because on paper you seem perfect. You're always smiling. You've won championships everywhere you go. So to let us know you're still human, was there an embarrassing moment that throughout your career, your whole long career, any embarrassing moment maybe that people saw on the court, wherever, that you could let us know that you're still human? Because we're not in your head, so we think you're perfect. But we didn't know that. We didn't know.
Oh my gosh. Far from perfect, y'all. No, what? Yeah, I embarrass myself constantly. I am a klutz of a human. I get in my head about things from time to time. Like, of course. I mean, this is not volleyball related, but yesterday I tried pickleball for the first time. That's humbling because I'm not good at it. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's really hard to smile when you're not good at something. And I went to go hit a ball and I missed it completely with the paddle and it hit me in my tooth. And I was like, everybody saw that. Okay. Anyways.
No more pickleball after that. You say, I'll put this down.
I said that I'll play once a year.
Okay.
I'll make an appearance.
I don't know how you're going to get better at doing that, but.
I know, right? Right? And that goes against everything I've just said. And yeah, no, I embarrass myself constantly. The thing is that you laugh and move on because everybody embarrasses themselves, you know? And like you say, like, I just messed up. Karch used to say, if you mess up, and volleyball is a game of errors, like that, like everybody messes up every single play. So like when you make an error, you just say like, ta-da, that happened, and then you move on.
Okay. All right, that's a good mentality to have. Okay, now it makes sense how you get through that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I would ask you what you like to do off the court, but you make it pretty clear on your social media where you like to go to coffee shops, read books, and eat croissants. So a better question is, what's your all-time favorite coffee order, book, and croissant?
Lately, I've been doing cold brew. So like that tells me how good the coffee shop is how good their cold brew is. And I'm a judger. If you don't have a good cold brew, then I will never go to your coffee shop again. Okay. So it's been a cold brew. I feel it out if it needs like milk in it or not. Like if it's a good one, it doesn't need any milk. And that's been my go-to order with either breakfast taco or croissant. And my favorite book, I've been into the fantasy world lately. I just finished up the Prison Healers series. So fantasy recs, I will take them. But any fiction novel, I'm down for.
All right, before we finish, I'd like to ask you the final five. These are the final five questions I ask every athlete. So the first question is, what's a misconception about being a pro athlete?
I think that like there's this notion about like being on all of the time. Like, and while I think volleyball players are amazing we're all decently media trained and we do love to connect with the volleyball community and our fans are amazing. At the same time, there's this like, we do need to like put our like on mask frequently and be active on social media because that's part of our jobs too, because as women athletes, like we're not earning the same salaries as like the NBA athletes are. So part of our jobs is to brand ourselves and put that on social media and be vulnerable in that space. I mean, you can choose to or not. It's a strange dynamic because what you're putting out in the world is not always who you are. And it takes people aback to be like, oh, like you're different than on the court and on social media. And I'm like, of course, like I'm a human, you know? And while I love to be on, I get exhausted doing that as well. So I like very much need to like go inside and sit in a quiet room and hang out with only my people in my circle. And so I think that I wish that like the social media in our community would give us some grace sometimes, because like we can't be on all of the time.
What's the memory that at the time felt like the worst in your career, but now you can look back at it, either laugh or see the value in it?
You know, I remember this one match at Texas. I was a freshman, and Salima Rockwell was our assistant coach, and I adore her. I was so frustrated with myself. I wasn't getting any kills. I was making a ton of errors. The setter just didn't trust me in that match, so she stopped setting me, and I couldn't get any block. Like I was doing everything wrong that game, and it didn't matter because our team was winning. And I was so consumed by my errors and my mistakes that I started crying in the middle of the match. And I look back of like, girl, how selfish are you that like your team is winning and all you can think about is your own mistakes? But it was a real vulnerable moment for me of like, what is wrong with me? Like I remember like shaking of like, I can't do anything right today. And I'm letting down my team and everybody notices how embarrassing I am and I'm making all these mistakes. And Salima was like, pick one thing and focus on that. You're not spiraling right now. It's going to be fine. You're an amazing blocker. You tell us and you show us that every single day in practice. Focus on blocking. And then like the third set, I think I got like 3 or 4 blocks and like it started to click, but I just remember being like all consumed by my anxieties and my mistakes. And this is a team sport. Mm-hmm. Especially, why am I crying while we're winning? Like, that's crazy.
In college, too.
Yeah, on TV, in Gregory, in front of fans. So maybe that's my most embarrassing moment of like, girl, get it together. Yeah. And I'm a crier. I'm a crier. My friends will tell you, I cry at everything. But there's so much beauty in the fact that this is a team sport. Like, and I don't have to put so much pressure on myself. Like, I can lean on my teammates and I can be terrible and we can still win, or I can be terrible and they still love me, or I can be terrible and I'm still deserving of being on this team and I know that I can play at a high level.
What's the best memory of your career? So whole long career, a lot of championships, a lot of big moments. If you had to pick one moment, what's the best memory of your career?
I say this answer a lot, but I still think it's incredible because Texas volleyball is just like a legendary program. My senior year, it was the last time playing in Gregory, and we were playing against Florida to go to the Final Four. And we had gone to the Final Four the previous 3 years. So it was like 4th year, let's go to 4 Final Fours in my career. Like, let's do it. But we were playing Florida in the regional final in Gregory. Last match in Gregory. And Ramat Al-Hassan, who's actually coming back this year to play professionally, which is amazing. She is an amazing middle, and she was just popping off, and we couldn't stop her. And they were feeding her, and I couldn't block her, and we subbed in my teammate Mirta, and who didn't play a ton, but she could block. She was a really good read blocker. She comes in, and they were like, you have one job. Just block Ramat. Perfect pass, they set Ramat. Mirta stuffs her. I'm like getting chills right now. The crowd is insane. Absolutely insane. And I was like, okay, now we're actually going to the Final Four. Yeah. It was in the 5th set. It was like, I think it was 11-all at the time. It was like such a tight game, and we were like, okay. Mirta's coming in and being like, guys, we're going to the Final Four. Stop freaking out. And we were freaking out the entire match. But I just vividly remember how amazing our fans were, how they erupted, how every single one of us looked at each other and we were like, okay, it's ours. We're going to take this. And just knowing that we were capable of being in the Final Four again.
Okay, what's some advice you could give to younger athletes that want to be in your position? They're probably Love Volleyball club athletes that want to be in Love Volleyball professional athletes. So what's some advice you could give them?
My advice is to find the joy. We've talked about it at length on this podcast of like how many pressure moments there are and how emotions can get in the way, anxieties can get in the way. But if you can find the gratitude and find the joy and the reason why you're still playing this game, hold on to that. And no matter how, a skill's not clicking, or you think you're too short, or you think that you're not fast enough or strong enough, like find the joy in working on your vertical, find the joy in, mastering this skill, or find the joy in being bad at it for a little bit, and figuring that out. There's so much to be said about gratitude and how far it can take you.
Is there a way you do that and find joy? Because it is easier said than done. So, so just having fun doing certain things, like how do you find that joy in all those moments?
I like to cut up and make jokes. I realize that it's a game. It's a game that should be enjoyed. And so, of course, it's hard to remember that all the time. But, I now have wonderful and mature teammates that I play with at LOVB Austin and in Athletes Unlimited of, if we mess up, which is all of the time, we just giggle about it and move on. Or we make a joke, or we celebrate the person next to us. That always brings me joy of, pumping up my teammates and hyping them up. I also get joy from just, literally playing this sport. So if we're playing, short court 3v3, that little fun game, which is not, real volleyball, but, we just get to, compete and mess around and talk smack, that is fun to me. And recognizing that, I get to do this every single day. And maybe now that I've had other jobs and my perspective of, the corporate world is sitting there waiting, and I could be doing that, but instead I get to play this game with my friends every single day. And I wish I could tell myself that at 25, at 18, at 15, of that, I get to do this, and there are so many other things that, I could do, but why would I want to do them if I get to play volleyball?
All right, last question. How do you define the word winner? It's not anyone else's definition of the word winner, but after a game, whether you actually won or lost, how do you tell yourself that you were a winner in that game?
I love that question. Did you back down whenever the pressure was high? Did you do whatever you could? Did you support your teammates? Did you pay someone else a compliment? Did you pay yourself a compliment? Because I need to work on that. I think that that's what separates the good and the great, is that at this level, the margin of talent is super small. Whenever the high pressure situation comes about, how are you going to face it? And that's a winner. Are you going to attack it, or are you going to back down? Did I attack it? I'm a winner. Even if I lost the game, at least I attacked the situation, and that made me a winner.